I am Liz Wright. Welcome to Live Your Best Life. The only thing that matters now is living by the power of this wonderful new creation life. We're going to become an undefeatable force of radiating glory, and we are rising up strong now in this hour. Hi family, welcome to Live Your Best Life with me, Liz Wright. And back by popular demand, I have joining me today my dear friend, Pauline Davis. Welcome to the show, Pauline.
Thank you, Liz. It's lovely to be back.
Oh, it's just so good. And obviously we got so many people writing in after our first conversation together. It was a really popular show. So I wanted to have you on so we could do part two. Just go a little bit deeper and explore a little bit more of who you are and how Jesus flows in your life. So I wanted to start by sharing with all you guys as well. When Pauline and I were talking today about our conversation, we don't really, I don't know what Pauline's going to say at this point, but it was very clear when we were praying about it and chatting a little bit that there's an invitation in Jesus's heart right now that is about him revealing himself to us through our intimate relationship with him. He wants to be known by us at a whole different level. And obviously in the times that we're living in, it's tough for so many people around the world. It's a good opportunity right now to respond and just go deeper and allow the strength of who he is to be your strength. And so I really felt that. And Pauline's life is a living epistle showcasing really for me and those of us that know and love her, what happens in our lives when we allow our intimacy with Jesus to overflow into every aspect of who we are as business people, as creatives, as parents, as husbands and wives and friends. You know, the overflow of his love, the overflow of his creativity, the revelation of who he is that comes through our life, and I know comes through Pauline's life, just begins to spill out and express everywhere. And so that's where I wanted to start really, Pauline, with you, just to say, I know, would you share, I know Jesus has given you a lot of revelation about who he is, and it expresses in your creativity, but would you just share with the family watching around the world a little bit more of what that looks like for you? Like, you know, what the Lord has shown you, because I know you walk in such a deep, intimate walk with him, but what the Lord has shown you about himself and how that's affected you creatively and as a businesswoman.
Thanks, Liz.
Can we start there?
Yeah.
You're such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration.
Well, I guess I think, well, first of all, I guess I have to start at the place of Jesus is the most exciting person I know. Yep. So when he starts or wants to speak about something that I know nothing about, my ears just open up because I feel like here goes the roller coaster. Here goes another adventure. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I love sitting in these moments of his whisper when I have no clue. I have no idea, but I know in his heart, you know, it's like he places this desire deep in our hearts so that when our passion, you know, ignites, he's the one that we turn to, and his heart just yields to us and says, here you are, let me give you the desires of your heart, because he's already put that passion in us. To do and accomplish and to be and to just flow. And those are the easiest things to step in when we're in that flow of knowing him, of focusing on him, of looking at him. Those are the easiest things in our lives to just flow into. And if you know, if we go into kind of the business that I'm in at the minute, it's all about fragrance. Yeah. And that came from a place a few years ago where Jesus just took me into Song of Songs. And I had tried to study it in the past. I tried to go through it and I always felt it was a bit of a mystery. I knew that it was very poetic, all about love, all about passion, but it still felt like a mystery to me.
I think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. But then when he started talking to me about fragrance, he really got my attention. And there's a chapter 4 in Song of Songs, where it lists 9 fragrances. It lists he calls it your inner garden. And everything I'm reading, by the way, today is from the Passion Translation. But so he lists these 9 fragrances. And then as I started to look at each one and to study each one, I realized that the Apostle Paul had taken these and translated them as the fruit of the Spirit, what we know as the fruit of the Spirit. So in the Hebrew word for the flower and the meaning of the scent, the whole meaning of the spice, the depth of the understanding of that, Paul was able to translate as the fruit. So for example, he's got pomegranates, or the first one mentioned, pomegranates of passion, they're called. But that's the fruit of love. And if we go through them, frankincense stood out for me. That's faith. And when you look at the oil that frankincense is, it's the only oil in the world that sinks. It goes completely against nature in exactly the same way that faith goes against nature. Miracles break the law of nature in the way that frankincense as an oil, it shouldn't sink, but it does. It's the only oil that does. So as I started to go through and try and understand the fragrance, so that when a fragrance popped up in a verse and I understood how Paul had translated it, I started to be able to change my language in how I was reading. And I want to spend some time today, if it's okay with you, in this section. It's in, I think it's chapter 4. It is chapter 4. And it's the Shulamite talking. I'm just going to read these couple of verses. I've made up my mind until the darkness disappears and the dawn has fully come. In spite of shadows and fears, I will go to the mountaintop with you. I will climb with you, the mountain of suffering love and the hill of burning incense. Yes, I will be your bride. And for me, this has been such a key of where so many are at the moment. If we just translate the frankincense as the faith, and the myrrh is quite an incredible revelation as well. It means humility and meekness, but I love the Hebrew translation. It means suffering without retaliation. And
each fruit, each spice or each fruit has within it the revelation of those different attributes of the nature of Christ.
Yeah.
So what the Lord's done with you is he started to unlock it and reveal himself to you. Oh, I love it. Go on. Love it.
And the great thing about when you go through and realize the fragrances that reach up to him, it's all a reflection of who he is. Everything that is fragrant about our lives is actually just a reflection of who he is. So it's him that does it all. We're reflecting back his nature.
Yeah, the beauty of who he is now inside of us. Yeah,
that's right. And this, when it talks about the mountain of suffering love, this suffering without retaliation, I really believe for the bride, there's so many of us have been put in this position of it's been hurting. We've been in places of pain. It's sore, it hurts, but he's asked us not to retaliate.
Yeah.
And that can be a really difficult place to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'm agreeing with you.
But yeah, so it's the mountain of myrrh, the hill of frankincense. It's the mountain is the suffering without retaliation. The hill is the faith. So they work together and they come from him. They're his nature. It's him that is positioning us, because it goes on to say, this is his response to her saying, yes, I will be your bride. His response is, every part of you is so beautiful, my darling. Perfect your beauty, without flaw within. Now you are ready, bride of the mountains, to come with me as we climb the highest peaks together.
So what did the Lord show you, that second part? So this is really, what did he show you about that particular part?
Well, I think for me, it's just the understanding that what is it to walk in intimacy with him? What is it to walk that mountain with him? You know, because that's the desire of so many of our hearts, to walk with Jesus, to be able to position ourselves, to walk alongside him, to walk with him, to walk that mountain. And so for me, it was the revelation of, what does that mountain look like? It's not defeat. It's not defeat.
Right.
Even though a lot of us are in a place where it would be so easy to stand up for ourselves, really fight our way out of corners. His call has been for us to yield. You know, he has the battle, he has the fight. You know, that we go to the highest peaks with him in just a very laying down and a recognition of, I don't have to fight, I don't have to justify, I don't have to retaliate. You know, you do that. You fight my battles for me. I don't.
Yeah. That's really profound. So it's really part of the invitation that what I'm hearing you saying that he's given to you, is to go into that deeper place of intimacy with him, where you're given the ability to walk out those places of suffering. But exhibiting the attitudes of Christ, with him being the strength of your life, and then who he is being revealed to your heart, and then actually overflowing from your heart and expressing through everything that you are, like in your marriage and you as a mom and in your work and what you create, everything. Because I know that from, you know, doing life with you, everything that you touch, everything you're creating, you know, in your company, it's everything, it's expressing him. You're walking this out through difficult times, but it's, like you say, it's not failure, is it? We don't need to be afraid of the challenges, because he, like you discovered, he's saying, okay, in this impossibility, yield to me, like you just said, yield to me, surrender to me. Let me be your strength. Let me show you who I am. Let me cause you to become obsessed with me. And then I will give you the grace to move in the opposite spirit to that aggression that's coming towards you, or that devastating situation that's seeking, it has the potential to overwhelm you with grief or shock or trauma or whatever it is. We find ourselves increasingly, and I see this in you, like moving in the nature of Christ, showing peace, releasing that, you know, and decompressing conflict and revealing love, revealing him. And that's what changes things, isn't it? Like, I mean, I see that, we all see that in your life, you know, those of us that know you, this rest you live in, like we talked about in our first conversation, and the peace in the midst of the storms. Like, so would you say you began to learn this walk of Song of Solomon when you were still in the real difficulties, the difficult season that you were going through?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I found myself in a place where I literally had nothing. I had nothing. And
no money, no nothing, no relationships, nothing. Just stripped.
So I had no home, no job. I was just, I felt, and my circumstances looked like I was down and out. And that's certainly, if I looked in the natural, that's where I was at. But at that time, I spent a lot of time just sitting on the floor with Jesus. And
as we do.
Yeah. And that's when he started talking to me about fragrance. And at the start, I was kind of, I want to talk about me. all the stuff that was rising up in me of the feeling a bit sorry for myself and everything that was going on in my life. But I started to realize through the fragrance, Proverbs 23:15 and 16 say, if your heart is wise, my heart will be glad, even mine. Yes, my heart will rejoice when your lips speak right things. And I started to realize, okay, so our emotions reach the throne of God, our fragrance reaches the throne of God. So what is my fragrance? What do I smell like to him today?
Wow, that's profound. That's life-changing, that one nugget. Will you say that again? Will you just read that scripture again? I just encourage you, family, right now, just take this in as life for yourself today, because just that one piece of revelation changes the motivation of your heart for the rest of your life. There's a value, really, doesn't it? Will you just read it again?
Yeah. So it's Proverbs 23. If your heart is wise, my heart will be glad, even mine. Yes, my heart will rejoice when your lips speak right things.
Cool. Wowza. Wowza. So that, coupled with the opening up of the understanding of the scriptures in the Song of Solomon, just changed your life. And I didn't know that, what you just said a few minutes ago, where Paul likens the fruit of the Spirit from Song of Solomon, that he talks about, he likens it to the spices that are listed in the Song of Solomon. I had no idea. Just bringing that piece of revelation together, and it helps you access the depth that's in the Song of Solomon, right? About the revelation of Christ. So
it does, because then you suddenly find that, that Jesus is all over it. Again, because
it's him.
There is, the perfect meekness. I mean, Jesus is he is perfect meekness. When he hurts, he does not retaliate, and we know that so well because he's our safest place, isn't he? We know that no matter what, he's not going to retaliate.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, absolutely. So he began to reveal himself to you, obviously, through your experience of his presence, and then the revelation that he was opening up to you, that all of these facets of who he is described in Song of Solomon, it's him revealing his heart. And same Jesus for all of us, family. You can just sit in that proverb and sit in these scriptures, sit in Song of Solomon, and Jesus will begin, like he's done with Pauline, just to breathe into your heart the revelation of who he is, because that's what I know we've both been feeling now, and I've been feeling it so strongly this week. Jesus's desire, like I said at the beginning, to be known by us, not for us to really, really know his character, right? And begin to be able to surrender, be able to rely on him, move in the opposite spirit in those challenging, impossible situations. So is that what started to happen to you, Pauline, in the midst of all of when you lost your home and you lost everything and you began to see him? What happened?
Yeah, because there was, if I go to another, it's chapter 1, it says, as the king surrounded me, the sweet fragrance of my praise perfume awakened the night. And when you know that spikenard is peace, you realize that as he surrounds me, that is the perfect place of peace. That is, if I want to abide in peace, it's being surrounded by his presence.
Right.
His word says it. There it is.
Right. So all the different virtues of his nature that we see revealed here is what's available to us as we look at him and we're with him. And so you said just a minute ago, you said you wanted to know what fragrance you were to him. That was like a wow, like a light bulb moment of, all right, so my emotions, like you said, touch the throne. Wow. So what happened, like when you had that moment? Obviously you changed, right? When you realized that.
Well, you do, because you're like, I want to be fragrant when he is like kind of smelling my fragrance. What is it that because I have power over that. I can decide what that fragrance is in the words that I'm speaking and what I'm releasing. And it's funny because how one of the ways that he opened this up for me was he asked me my favorite fragrance. And it's cinnamon. I love cinnamon. I've always loved cinnamon. It's just my favorite, has been always. And then he said to me, and what is the part of my nature that you feel like you know the most? And I said, your goodness. I know your goodness. I can stand on your goodness. I know you are good. I look for your goodness every day, and I see your goodness every day. And then I looked up just to double check, but I was already kind of laughing in my spirit. But of course, the spice in the Song of Songs, cinnamon, is translated as goodness by Paul. So we're already walking in it. We're already the sense, even in the natural, that I think that we're drawn to, would even give us a revelation of kind of either where we're at or what he's releasing over our lives. That fragrance are so important. I mean, he keeps talking about them, so he gets my attention. I like his fragrance, and that's what I want to reflect back to him.
Just to give you guys a little bit more backstory, because Pauline is extremely humble, but she is, in my opinion, she is the most incredible creator of the most exceptional candles in the world. And the oils you make, the candles you make, the fragrances, the combination, and they're also profound in meaning and they're pure, but you are so, I mean, honestly, talk about anointed creativity and it all flowing from your relationship with Jesus. It's amazing to watch the creative process that you have in your business context. I mean, it's inspirational, really. So I just know that there'll be people watching going, okay, so translate for me the spices that are listed. Do you know them? Have you got, can you remember them? Have you got notes? Yes, totally. Let's understand the Song of Solomon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, if you go to chapter 4, it lists, he calls it my exquisite fruit growing within your inner garden. So it's his fruit growing in us.
Oh, wow.
And so pomegranates of passion is love. Henna from heaven.
That's the love of Jesus, right? Okay, so the spices are then the attributes, the revelation of the attributes of God. Okay, so pomegranate is the love of Christ. Okay.
Yeah, henna is joy and gladness. Spikenard is peace. Saffron is patience. Calamus is kindness. Cinnamon, goodness. Frankincense is faith. Myrrh is the suffering without retaliation, the humility. And aloes are the inner strength, self-control.
Oh my goodness, isn't that profound? So when you need those different attributes of who Christ is to be the power, the expression of your life in that particular whatever moment you're going through, what do you do? Like, how do you express him and engage his nature?
I think what changed things for me is the staircase that's mentioned in chapter 2. Just let me find it. This is what changed me. It was I who took you and hid you up high in the secret stairway of the sky. Let me see your radiant face and hear your sweet voice. How beautiful your eyes of worship, and I love the sound of your voice in prayer. And for me, I felt like he gave me that place to hide, to come with him on that staircase, and to access that place, because I find that not only is it a place where it's a place where just you and Jesus fit, just me and Jesus fit in this staircase. It's such a deep intimate place for just the two.
Yeah.
But yet on that staircase, there is such incredible perspective when he brings you up and lets you look and shows you the things that are surrounding you or that you have felt or over you. When he brings you up to that staircase and it is just you and him, and you're able to stand with him and look at things from a completely different perspective, look at it from his heart and from his position, and you change how you speak and you change your own fragrance that you get. You're so intentional about changing your fragrance and what is coming out of your mouth, that from that position, everything changes.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's what you're sharing. And it's life-changing for people, this, because, and like, you know, what you said, when we know, when we realize we can live there, you know, we do live there. We just have to turn, you know, Christ is within us, right? We just have to turn the attention of our heart back onto that reality and allow him to resensitize us again. But I love it when what you said, you know, when we realize that our emotions touch the throne, our emotions, we have the capacity to move the heart of God with how we move emotionally, how we choose in a moment to respond to him, you know, and that we have the ability to draw on the nature and release the nature of Christ who's now within us. And it's transformational. It moves him.
Yeah.
It moves his heart, right? And then he moves through us and changes that situation that we're dealing with, that person, whatever it is, with his nature, with his presence. It's just extraordinary. And I mean, this is the life, isn't it? This is the life of the bride, where heart to heart we're living in the secret place. You know, like you say, we're in the stairway, we're in that place that's crafted just for our relationship with him, our individual relationship with him. And then he reveals himself to us there. Like you said, we get a perspective of life that is as he sees it, not as we see it. So we're back up above and then empowered again as victorious. So powerful. So just in finishing, golly, that's gone so fast. Oh my goodness, that time. So just in finishing, is there something that you would suggest that if people are stuck in their relationship right now, is there anything that you would say to encourage the family listening of what you would do in your life, what you have done in your life, to just move from being stuck or overwhelmed to be able to move forward into this walk more effectively?
There's a couple of things. Firstly, just being so aware of what I'm speaking, what I am framing around myself, what the fragrance that I'm giving off is. It's how I choose to speak and what my language is. That can change things in a moment. In an instant, you can change your atmosphere by what your words that you are releasing. But also for me, and you know, choose anywhere in Song of Songs, it is all about how he adores us, how he is absolutely undone by us turning to him, by our eyes upon him, by us being with him and wanting to be with him. He is the passion, the love. He is completely undone. And so, I mean, my heart is for everyone to understand how accessible Jesus is. And, you know, as much as anyone wants to get into his presence, he wants them more. And so just know how adored you are by Jesus, how much he loves you, how much he wants to be with you, how much he wants your face turned towards him, how much he wants to hear your voice. That's his passion. You're his passion. You're his desire.
Yeah. I think as that realization drops, like you say, just accepting that truth, just becoming aware of that truth, that reality, taking the Song of Solomon literally, into your own heart as the revelation of Jesus to you, it's transformational, isn't it? And I love, like, as you know, like one of my life verses is Song of Solomon 7:7 from the Passion Translation, which is, we stand in victory above the rest, stately and secure, as we share with Jesus our vineyard of love, our heart, and this is the whole purpose of life, isn't it? To become his bride. This is the foundation of the age to come. This is the relationship we're going to be living forever, family. There's nothing more important to invest into. And yeah, I agree with you. Just the Song of Solomon is my go-to place as well. And if you can just choose, irrespective of how you feel right now, just choose as you sit with Jesus and spend some time with him in the Song of Solomon. And definitely, I recommend the Passion Translation too. It's very accessible, the language in there. Just meditating on the nature of Jesus, accepting literally the revelation of his love. It's for you. And if you'll just soak and just let the word of God wash you and seep into you, it changes you. He changes us, doesn't he? And we begin to know him more.
When the bride has climbed the mountain of faith and the hill of suffering love, it's his response, how his heart opens to her to us in that moment. I'm just going to read his response, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now you are ready, bride of the mountains, to come with me as we climb the highest peaks together. Come with me through the archway of trust. We will look down from the crest of the glistening mounts and from the summit of our sublime sanctuary. Together we will wage war in the lion's den and the leopard's lair as they watch nightly for their prey. For you reach into my heart. With one flash of your eyes, I am undone by your love. My beloved one, my equal, my bride, you leave me breathless. I am overcome by merely a glance from your worshipping eyes, and you have stolen my heart. So that's what he thinks of you.
Wow, that's so powerful. Just be mindful of that, family. In those tiny movements of your heart, when you choose faith over fear, when you choose to believe him, that's how he's responding. That's his language to you, from his heart to your heart. We move the heart of God with every tiny movement of our own when we choose faith. When we enter through the archway of trust, we enter into a deeper transformational experience and encounter of him, and the goodness and faithfulness of who he is, that testimony increases in our lives. So every impossibility you're facing right now is God's opportunity to bring more of himself into your life, more understanding to your heart of who he is, more transforming power, more revelation of his goodness and his sovereignty as he's working everything together for your good. So, because you are his beloved. Pauline, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing from your precious relationship with Jesus. It's so good to be with you. And thank you. Yeah. And thank you all for being with us today. We pray you have the most amazing week, filled with encounters with Jesus. Every area of your heart that's feeling insecure, unsure, afraid right now, completely undergirded with a fresh experience, transformed with a fresh experience of Jesus' love for you. And we look forward to being with you again next week. God bless.